What's up, everyone? It's your co-host Ethan and John back with another episode of Creating Madness Live. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, Colorcast. We're live on everything. Make sure you check out all our streams, all our socials. John, give a quick shout out to our socials while I post this in the retweet group chat.
Our Instagram is _ creating madness. Check out that for any large updates about college basketball, as well as when we post a new episode. We usually have some pretty cool graphics on there sometimes, so definitely check that out. Our Twitter is at ATR Madness. We're going to be posting when there's something crazy happening in college basketball. We see something funny, we see something cool stat, an update, big updates, in polls about our episodes. So make sure you check that out there. Also, make sure you check out our Instagram polls. We do this every week for our Games of the Week segment that we do on our show every Sunday. So make sure you check that out. And our YouTube. So whenever we upload on this, we're going to be posting stream highlights as well as the full stream on there. So make sure you check those out. Last but not least, our Colorcast. Ethan and I have our own individual Colorcast. We don't have the Creating Madness Colorcast, but if you check us both out, you'll be able to see all the Creating Madness live streams. Definitely give us a follow on Colorcast if you're on there. If you're not on Colorcast, Ethan, give us a quick shout out to where your Colorcast ad is.
Ethan Carboni is my @. John, plug some headphones into your phone so we don't have this echo, and let's get going with the regular scheduled episode.
Sounds good.
All right. So tonight we have a banger. I actually planned something today. We're not having a lazy thrown together version, which is what happened last week before I got sick. But we're having some fun, and we got a nice little starting segment as the University of Louisville parts ways with Chris Mack. And I've heard a lot of debate on this, whether Louisville's even worth being called a blue blood anymore, because aside from that Rick Pitino era, they have not done much in the 2000s, 2010s decades. So it's supposedly one of the hottest seats in college basketball to take, hottest jobs. What are some of the best people to take this position? John, I'll let you rattle a name off real quick.
Man, there's a lot of good candidates out there. There's a lot of coaches on the chopping block. I've even seen some rumors for some old coaches to come back. I would say the best candidate, the guy that if he manages to come back, it would be wraps for the rest of college basketball. Roy Williams. He's not fully retired. I actually have seen a rumor that he's not going to be fully retired. Maybe that's like a rumor. Again, it's a complete rumor. But if he were to come out of retirement, coach the Cardinals, that would be a phenomenal hire. I get it, he's really old. But he comes out of retirement and plays for them, that would be phenomenal.
See, starting off, I want to go Eric Musselman. Because although Arkansas, he's had a good run with them, it's kind of going to be tough just because you have a great recruiting class coming in, but this year you're not looking so hot. Louisville has so much attraction to the 5 stars and 4 stars of any class just because of their name, brand, value. I think that right away he'd make a huge impact. Obviously, he loves Arkansas. He loves it down there. Louisville might be a nicer job option for him, though. And then moving on to the next one, I'm probably going to have to go. We're going to throw in something slightly more interesting. I'm probably going to go with Travis Ford. Travis Ford isn't necessarily the biggest name to look at right away. He had a long-standing resume. He played for Pitino when he was at Kentucky. Obviously, the in-state rivalry doesn't necessarily help the most, but he was the head coach of St. Louis, where he did very, very good. He's been the head coach of 5 schools. He's been an incredible Atlantic 10 coach, and I think this might be his next step in his career, and Louisville needs someone. So,
yeah. And one more guy I want to throw out, Tubby Smith from High Point. He's had the Power 5 coaching experience before. He's coached at schools like Kentucky and Texas Tech. And High Point's been a decent team. But if they're in desperation mode, let's say none of these plays hit, they don't get any of the guys they want, you could really get a guy like Tubby Smith, throw him in there maybe for a year or two as a replacement coach so they can just kind of fill her in. I think we see that in people like Hubert Smith from North Carolina right now. Yeah, they made him out to be the long-term play, but he's probably not going to be. They went through 2 or 3 coaches after Dean Smith left until they got Roy Williams. So I think Hubert Smith might be one of those guys that's a filler, and I think Tubby Smith might be a filler if they were to get him from High Point. But that's just a last resort type deal. It's not going to be a permanent solution with Tubby Smith, but that's a very solid filler coach.
Agreed. And moving on to one final one, like I'm been looking at, this is probably the hottest take of anyone, Bruce Pearl.
Wow, you think we'd leave Auburn?
No, coaches can leave anytime they want.
That's true.
Louisville, Bruce Pearl's been one of the top coaches in college basketball this year, past year. I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville said, hey, how would you like to be a top 3 highest paid coach? And maybe throws out, I don't know, $9, $10, $12 million a year at him. I'm not exactly sure the numbers for highest paid coaches. Sorry about that. Don't add us for that. But you got to admit, Bruce Pearl, Auburn's not a blue blood basketball school. When you think Auburn, you think Cam Newton. You don't think basketball at all. If you're thinking historical wise, at least.
You know, I'm thinking Jabari Smith after this year. I mean, they do have a really good team. But
well, that's this year, but I'm saying historically.
Yeah, it's fine. I know what you're saying.
Right. So I could see it. Realistically, I think your options are more realistic than mine. But I feel like mine are just the options that they should potentially pursue. In reality, they should probably pursue every college coach that's not named Mike Krzyzewski. I can't speak. Sorry about that. Yep, thank you. And then I think it's time to move on to the Big East, because on my personal Twitter, I was talking with some people and I was having a lot of fun because Providence is really good.
I've been saying that too. If you've been listening to this show, I've been harping on Providence. They're a team that locks up any perimeter defender they want to. You know, we've seen them play against some of the most elite competition in the country this year. In conference and out of conference, they've done a really good job. They're 15-2 as of this win. They played in Ohio, if I believe. It wasn't even at Providence. They got a big win, versus Xavier this weekend. I believe it's this weekend, right? Yeah, it was this weekend. So,
well, yesterday, but yeah, close enough to the weekend.
It wasn't this weekend then. It was Wednesday. Well, still, doesn't matter. It was this weekend, last weekend, yesterday, it doesn't matter. Beating that Xavier team on the road is a fantastic win, and they have an all-around team. This is one of those teams where there's not a star player, which is kind of scary considering the fact that each one of those guys could go up for 15 points and lock up on defense. And this is a really good team after Providence has been struggling for a few years in the Big East, but now they're finally getting their footing and they're back, baby.
Yeah, Providence has always been one of those teams where they have a lot of talent in a necessary year, and then stuff just doesn't fall into the right place for them. This is their year to win the Big East. And I think as of this point right now, I think they win the Big East. I think that they're the only team in the Big East that I could see making it to the Elite Eight as of right now.
Ed Cooley's got a team, but I wouldn't rule out every single team. Marquette has had some games, games where they've been a team.
Marquette's fair.
Here's the thing. I've got a few teams in mind for the Big East that could make runs. Now, these also are teams that could fizzle out and we can never see them again after the first weekend. But, you know, I don't trust Shaka Smart in the long term personally. I've been a Texas fan. I understand he made the Final Four with VCU, and they had the miraculous game against Kansas in the Elite Eight. But when I watched this team at Texas, right, I'm a diehard Longhorns fan if y'all didn't know already. I watched this team for years. He got all the recruiting class he wanted to. He got all the players he wanted to, and he didn't make it out of the first round for years. Throughout my childhood, I watched all this torture. I watched every game. I know with Shaka he's going to get a lot out of his guys defensively. But in terms of getting it done in big games on offense, he really hasn't had a knack to do that often, you know. And they've been doing well in the regular season this year, as Texas has done in previous years. We were the best team in the Big 12 last year, and we ended up losing to Abilene Christian in the first round. Ethan really likes to make that joke a lot. But my point is that I'm going to have to see some success out of Shaka, not only in the Big East tournament, but in the NCAA tournament this year for me to ride with him down in the long term. But a guy who I've seen do it year in and year out with his teams is Jay Wright. He is simply consistently a top 3 coach in college basketball. I don't think anyone has a problem with me saying that. I mean, he always has a great defensive team. He always has an efficient offensive team. They always are in the top 10 least turnovers in the country. I think they probably are right now, if I had to guess. This is a team who's very well sound. They're made for the tournament. They do the things that win the tournament. You take smart shots. You don't turn the ball over. You play lock-up defense. They do that every single game, and Jay Wright knows how to coach a team to victory. So even when you can count them out in some years, they still usually find a way to do really well. And I really like not only Providence, but I like Villanova as candidates. And Villanova's kind of seems like an obvious pick there, but I think that they're a really good team this year.
For sure. And then moving into a team that I like, I see this team as more of a Sweet 16 team, but you never know what could happen. This is college basketball. The UConn Huskies. You have
a really good team.
Adama Sanogo, who has been averaging 16 points as a sophomore, to go along with nearly 2.5 blocks and 8 boards, which as a sophomore in the Big East, that's nearly unheard of, to be honest. Unless you're the Jalen Brunsons of the world. But if you're Adama Sanogo, you're one of the most underrated players in the entire country right now. And then you also have on that team, you have RJ Cole and Tyrese Martin, who can be two of the most flashy players in the entire country. And I know, John, you have talked about these two. This is one of the best backcourts in the entire country for sure.
They're one of my favorite backcourt pairings personally. I absolutely love the way they play each other. You got RJ Cole, who's more of a floor general, but can definitely go for 30, as we've seen in some games. And Tyrese Martin's just a bucket. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He's efficient. He can get from the mid-range, he can get it from the bucket, and he can shoot efficiently from 3. These two guys are fantastic on offense. My only problem is that they're not the best backcourt on defense, but when you have offensive talent like in college, it's pretty hard to stop in general, even if they're a bit not as well-rounded on the defensive end. But this is a team that can definitely go for. I don't see this team making the Final Four personally. That's not a diss to anyone that's a UConn fan, but I really like this team in terms of the way they're building the backcourt. And, we've seen in the past years that teams that are really good in the backcourt, they usually go really far. All these teams that we've seen win national championships over the years have had great backcourts. You got Virginia with their all-time great backcourt. You have Baylor with the all-time great backcourt. You got all these other teams who can have a point guard, a shooting guard, who can just get it done. And they usually get it done in the tournament as well. So I really like this team. Again, I don't see them making the Final Four personally, but if they did, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because anything can happen in the Big East.
And then moving into another Big East team that I'm not going to say could go far or won't go far, because they're a question mark to me. Yesterday you lose to Butler, 72-55. Creighton. What is going on? Because you're a team sitting at 12-7. Or, 12-6. You don't have, it's an all-around team. There's no star on this team. Zagrowski's gone. You have Hawkins, O'Connell, Kalbrenner, Nembhard, all averaging 11 or more points. And then you also have Kluma, who has averaging 9. And then everyone after that, it's 5.2 and less. If you're Creighton, this isn't your year, for sure. I know, John, me and you have said this before. This is not Creighton's year. It's not
debatable, though.
I
would say it's debatable.
It's not a rebuild year, but it's a, take that step just to move up higher. Next year, Creighton's contending for the Big East title.
So, yeah, Coach McDermott, I think, actually, before I even start, I think Nathan does a valid point. I don't think this is the year to go super deep, but I still think they have a team that could do something. I mean, we've seen them play really close against teams like Iowa State. They even beat Villanova this year. They beat Marquette in double overtime this year. They've had some really impressive wins, but they've also had some shortcomings. Losing to a team like Butler, who is definitely in a rebuilding year for the Big East. They have been a great team in years past. They made the tournament and did consistently well, but this is definitely a rebuilding year for the Bulldogs. And when you lose them like that, I get it was away. They were coming off a lot of games, but you can't really lose to Butler by double-digit points if you want to have a chance at going forward this year. Again, I think this team has some talent. I think Coach McDermott, I really got a really good recruiting class. This team is very young. I think they got 3 or 4 4-stars who are going to be developed over the next few years. So this team's going to have a dirty squad in about a year and 2. But I think this team definitely still has hope. Again, they've beaten and played very close against very high-level competition. They just had a bad loss, but I think that this team is still second weekend able. I think they can definitely win 2 or 3 games in this tournament. I could also see them losing in the first weekend. Their seeding probably won't be the best because they're a mid team in the Big East right now, but with how talented this conference is, they probably will still get a decent seed. I would say probably in the 7 to 10 range. But this is a team that is definitely a hit or miss. This is a team that can go to the second weekend, or this is the team that will be going home after the first game. So that's my opinion on Creighton. But Ethan, who's our next team that we have to go over in this conference?
I was actually going to say I want to get into the meat and potatoes of our show today.
Oh, sure.
You have not been here ever since we've started doing this.
I think I've been on one episode, and it was on my ranch Wi-Fi. So that we had a great episode too. If anyone wants to watch it, we can stream highlights from that. But in terms of consistency, basketball it's tough, man. You got film, games, practice every single day. So I've been trying to make it work, but we got on today, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah. So obviously, everyone in the college basketball world that remotely follows it enough to care about their team knows who Joe Lunardi is. And if you don't, I don't know what the hell you're doing watching the show.
You should go watch him, actually. If you actually, maybe not. But my point is, you got to know who that is if you want to. That's step one.
So we look at his bracketology 2 days after it comes out every week. It was updated on the 25th. It's the 27th. Top overall seed, he has Auburn. First team out, Arkansas. Last team in, Florida. And then you got last four on buys, TCU, Miami, North Carolina, St. Mary's. Last four in, Oregon, San Diego State, San Francisco, Florida. First four out, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Michigan, Wyoming. Next four out, Kansas State, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Cincinnati.
Can you read that last four out one more time?
The first four out or the next four out? Because those are like
both of them.
All right, first four out, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Michigan, Wyoming. Next four out, Kansas State, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Cincinnati.
So when I heard that first four out, because I needed to hear it again, because I was just confused, because we got Mississippi State, we got Michigan. These are two teams we projected to be in the top 25. I mean, not saying just creating madness, especially Michigan. This is supposed to be a top 5 team in the country. You can have down years. That's not like a bad thing, but in terms of what the amount of talent this Michigan team has, you have the experience. You have the freshmen. You have Musa Diabate and others who can. They're 5 stars. Simple, plain and simple. Top 5 kids in their class who have just been freak athletes and the best players in their country since they're in high school. And you come in here and you're losing to mid to bad teams in the Big Ten, along with doing horrible in your out of conference schedule. That just caught me off guard. And Mississippi State as well. You have Iverson Molinar, you have Garrison Brooks, you have talent on your team, but again, not getting it done enough to get the tournament with this level of talent on your team is concerning. I just wanted to touch on that real quickly. I know we have a whole bracketology thing to go over, but I just wanted to talk about that for just a second.
No, that's fine. I'll go into my own little tangents on certain teams in this, but the 68 team bracket, I think me and you, let's just get through the 16 seeds for the playing games. Southern New Orleans. It doesn't matter. New Orleans, but it doesn't matter unless you're a fan of either team, in which case, I'm sorry.
I'm going with Southern.
Okay, you're just trying to pick the opposite.
I think they're in closer proximity to my house.
Okay.
So, go with them.
All right, Norfolk State, UNC Wilmington. Norfolk State is always in this position. They win their conference almost every year. Norfolk State.
I got Wilmington. Actually, Norfolk State. I remember when they beat Missouri when we were little kids. I'll go with Norfolk State.
Yep. And then moving into the 12 seeds before we get to the 11s, San Francisco, Florida. Florida's a team that could drop out of the tournament. Florida's also a team that can make it to the Sweet 16. Actually,
they have Colin Castleton. That's tough.
Round of 32. I don't think they're making it to the Sweet 16. I'd take San Francisco over Florida in this one. San Francisco has such a good defense, and Florida has Colin Castleton. I'll take team basketball over 1 7-foot guy.
I think the 7-foot guy in the tournament can make the difference against a team like San Francisco. If they were talking about another Power 6 team that has some height, I would easily choose the other team. But San Francisco's a bit of a tiny team. And when you're talking about a team that's really relying on getting to the rim and you have a potential first-team All-American under the rim, it makes life pretty tough for a team like San Francisco. So I definitely wouldn't rule out San Francisco winning, but I got Florida personally.
All right. Then moving on to the next one, which is the 11 seeds in the playing games. At this point, I don't think, just because I know this was 2 days ago, but at this point, I don't think either of these teams should be in it. Oregon, San Diego State. Oregon coming off a loss to Colorado. San Diego State coming off a loss to Utah State. Yes, I know Utah State's good, but you also got held to 37 against Boise State. 37 points is the amount of points you should be putting up per half, minimum, in a college basketball game. Fine, around 37 per half. Is that better? Because a 37 per game is kind of pathetic.
Yeah, not pathetic. It's 74 points a game.
No, in an entire game, 37
Oh
points.
no, yeah, entire game. That's terrible. It's on some JV middle school play level right there. But I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying.
Yep. And then you ready to get into the full bracket now?
I am ready. I'm ready to handle
it. I'm Oregon, San Diego State. We'll pick Oregon. I think you can agree with me on that. San Diego State at this point.
Oregon got a great win against UCLA. They just beat Arizona
and USC.
And USC. I don't know about USC. I've been talking about that the whole year. I don't know if they're a team. I don't know if they're a good team this year. But I might actually go San Diego State, and that's a little controversial. I know they just took a really bad loss, but I really like this team's defense. I think Oregon does not have good enough defense. I think that San Diego State might be pulling out personally. But this game's not going to matter much. I think that their sixth seed probably will win, but we'll see.
All right, moving in to the actual bracketology, the 64 games that nobody, and I mean like the first four, we all like, but we want the first round more. Like, we just want the first four to get over. We all go to sleep the second that last game ends just so we can go another day closer. But moving into the biggest crapshoot, Auburn versus Southern in your case, Auburn versus New Orleans in my case.
This is a tough one, honestly. I mean,
yeah, Auburn by 40. We move on to the next one. I'm not even going to let you make a joke at that point. Wake Forest, Creighton. You're hyping up Creighton. What do you think? I'll let you give your pick first.
So Wake Forest is a team that earlier in the season I saw they hadn't played any major competition. They hadn't played any top-tier teams, in my opinion. And as the season's gone on, the record's still maintained. And so, honestly, this might be a first-round exit for the Blue Jays. I think Doug McDermott's going to have a really good team next year. But with this particular matchup, the Blue Jays would be in Omaha after this game.
I think that Wake Forest, they have this insane duo of Alondes Williams, who's averaging 20.4 points per game, and Jake LaRavia, who's averaging 15.4. I think that, too, the duo is better than Creighton's Big Four, which I'm not going to call a Big Four. I'm going to call it evenly distributed among your four best players.
Sure.
So, Wake Forest would win that one. And then you said Florida, so you're going to have Florida going up against Ohio State. You explained that game.
Ohio State's had history of selling in the tournament. I'm not saying I'm going to rule them out in this game, but Oral Roberts is a thing. Personally, I think E.J. Liddell is a better player than Colin Castleton. Colin Castleton is Florida this year. I've got Ohio State, but I just wouldn't be surprised at this point if Ohio State loses in the first round. So that's my take.
All right, and then you got San Francisco, in my case, versing them. You know, if you're looking at San Francisco, let's just pull up their stats for this team. You have a guy, and I believe his name is Jamari Booyah. I'm not sure his first name at the moment, but Jamari Booyah, averaging nearly 18 points per game, 5 boards, 4 assists, shooting 50% from field goal. Yeah, I like it, but you're matching up against E.J. Liddell.
That's a problem. I think at this point he's got to be for sure first-team All-American.
I think you can make the argument that the entire first-team All-American could be all Big Ten players at this point.
Because you're the most biased.
I said you can make an argument. I didn't say that's true, John. But I'd have to take Ohio State just because the E.J. Liddell factor versus the Jamari Booyah factor.
Right.
That's to him. Hell, I'd love to see Ohio State go down in the first round again. That would make my year. But moving in, Villanova, South Dakota State. South Dakota State, according to John Rothstein earlier this past week.
And John Krevling.
Have been the hottest mid-major team in college basketball.
I remember seeing that tweet. Sorry to cut you off here. I remember seeing that tweet to Ethan, and I was like, I couldn't agree more. This is a team who has statistically, arguably, the best offense in the country. And I get it. Villanova is a great defensive team, but we've seen lapses. I remember in the first game of the season when UCLA poured in 95, I think. This is a South Dakota team that can flat out score, and they can score against anyone. It doesn't matter what conference. The only problem is that Villanova can also score. And so I got Villanova in a really close game here. I think South Dakota State can probably bring it within 5 or 3. But personally, I got the Wildcats because South Dakota State, great offense, but they have a bit of a problem on defense. they're terrible, but on defense, sorry, they're terrible on defense. But I got Villanova in this game. I would not be surprised if the Jackrabbits pull one out though. And in fact, if the Jackrabbits were to manage to win this game, I would see them the second weekend personally.
Yep. And then I also got Villanova. I 100% agree with you. It's who has the better offense, in my opinion, who is Colin Gillespie.
That makes it tough.
Who is Justin Moore? South Dakota State is a team that very well, like I said on my personal account, I like South Dakota State a lot. They're a terrific team. I just don't think
this matchup is not a good matchup for them.
Exactly. They're going in projected matchups for them. I love all the 5 seeds pretty much, and except for maybe 1 or 2 cases. We'll get into that later. But this is not their matchup. And then moving into USC, TCU. Oh, God. TCU just got beat by Texas.
They just got beat down, but I am not a big fan of USC. I don't have any bias, but I'm not a big fan of this team this year.
I mean, I can't say I like either team to win this one because
this isn't going to happen, though. This is not going to be a match.
No, of course it's not going to happen because one of these two teams are dropping out. I originally had TCU beating Texas. We saw how that went, like in my personal opinion, and then we saw that go bye-bye. Now you have USC, who's been one of the most overrated teams in college basketball, and then they fall down. In this instance, I think I'd have to go USC, but this matchup will never happen as of...
I don't even know if I can give an opinion on this. I guess I go TCU only because I really just don't trust USC. TCU has played other teams very close, but never won. I don't like either of the teams in this matchup. This is not going to happen, but let's just move on.
All right, Jacksonville State, Houston.
Okay, here's my thing with Houston real quickly. I don't think they're going to make it into later rounds, but if they get a matchup like Jacksonville State, they're going to win every single time. I think that even though Marcus Sasser's gone, this team has enough pieces around them, like Jamal Shedd and others, who can get it done. I think they win against Jacksonville State.
No, I might go different. We picked the same every single time so far.
No, you're not. You can't on this one.
I might, and after looking at the stats, I will not. Jacksonville State's a good college basketball team, but good does not beat great in the majority of instances. And I'm sure every single person listening to this would agree. If you chose Jacksonville State to upset Houston right now, in your bracket, if you have your money bracket with your friends, if you chose Jacksonville State to win that one,
you would take my spot on the show.
Yeah, pretty much.
You would just know more. You'd be the omniscient basketball analyst, so you would take my spot for sure. But I think Houston's got this one in the bag. Next game.
Moving on to a game this would be a game I'd love to watch. This would be a game I would love to sit on my couch, not look at any other game, just watch. I feel like a lot of these 7-10 games are just so entertaining every year. Colorado State, Oklahoma.
I've got Oklahoma easy, actually. And I have my reasons. I think that this team has just such good perimeter defense with Emoji Gibson and Jordan Goldwire that Colorado State's 1-2 punch on the perimeter just gets shut down. That's plain and simple. I think that this team also has Tanner Groves, who showed he can get busy in the tournament. I think he had a 30 ball last year in Eastern Washington's only game. I believe against Kentucky. I may be wrong on that, but he gets busy in the tournament. Not to mention they have Emoji Gibson, Jordan Goldwire, who are locks on offense. Not to mention the fact that Emoji Gibson's a great offensive player. So I've got Oklahoma convincingly in this game. And again, it'd be a great game. These are two very talented teams. But I like Oklahoma a lot. And it hurts me to say that, by the way. I'm a diehard Longhorn, but I got the Sooners.
You see, I'm looking at this, and I'm not sure because Oklahoma does not have a one-guy scorer.
No, they don't.
If they could shut down, or if they could shut one down and slow the other down of David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens, I would easily choose Oklahoma. I'm just not. I think one of the two would go off. I think Tanji, Thomas, Jacobs, someone would step up on that Rams team. I'd choose Colorado State to beat Oklahoma. And that's not even an upset. That's just me going with the favorite. And then moving into Purdue, Cleveland State. Any other 15 seed here? Like, just looking. Actually, no, I take that back. No, Purdue would be any 15 seed here as of right now. I don't even know.
I'm not going to make a joke. Next game.
Yep. Arizona Longwood. You can make a joke if you want. Moving on, Arizona by 40. Indiana, Florida State, Trace Jackson Davis versus.
The Seminoles were looking better. They had a horrifically slow start this season. They were dropping games to some teams that I was literally embarrassed watching the game.
Like
The only team
losing
they
to
beat
Georgia Tech by 14 yesterday.
that was a bad game, but I think they've been heating up lately. Again, that was a bad loss. I was going to get into that right after. But for the most part, I think they've been doing better. Now, that is not making up for the fact that Indiana has Trace Jackson Davis. I don't think Leonard Hamilton's team this year has a guy who like they've had in past years who's just a big, long 7-footer that'll block everything around the rim. I think that Trace Jackson Davis goes for 25, but Indiana just scares me. They don't have anyone else on the team who can play at a very high level.
Not true. Phineas stepped up.
He averages 8 a game. He had 20 in that big game against Purdue. Yeah. He had a great game, but
he just had the one game against your rival that you hadn't beaten in like the 10 games prior, and then disappeared every other game that they played this year.
Yeah, Rob Finney had 20 and 8, I think, against Purdue, and he averages, I think, 8 and 6. So, congrats, Rob Finney, but you're not doing that against. You might do that against Florida State, but this is a toss-up game for me. You got to give me Indiana, I guess. But Florida State has been looking good recently. It needs to be a close game.
I'd take Leonard Hamilton. I think he'd win one more game, but I think Leonard Hamilton needs to retire after this year.
What? What are you talking about? No, he's a great coach. He's one of the best defensive coaches in college basketball. I think they're just having it down here
I agree,
relative to their standards.
I agree. He's one of the best defensive coaches in basketball, but just maybe I'm overthinking it, but Leonard Hamilton age. He's 73.
How old's Mike Wooden?
Mike Wooden?
I mean, not Mike Wooden. Indiana. What is his name? The coach for Indiana right now. I am blanking. I'm blanking so hard.
Younger. Like I'm looking at Greg Campy, the coach we interviewed, 66, and he says he only has a couple more years left in it. If Leonard Hamilton's going to retire soon, I think this is a year to do it.
We'll see. But maybe. Moving on.
Yeah. All right,
wait, what's the coach for Indiana's name? I'm blanking so hard.
Indiana's coach?
Yes.
Indiana's coach is Mike Woodson.
Mike Woodson. That's where I was going.
Yeah. But moving into Xavier Murray State. Murray State, as a 12 seed, played Marquette a couple years. I think it was our freshman.
That Marquette team was very overrated. I remember that game, though, with the infamous John Morant dunk where he junked on both the Hausers. That was absurd. John Morant, I think he had a triple-double game. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember watching that at my grandma's house. That was a game that you remember for the rest of your life. But I don't know if it's going to happen again. They don't have a guy like John Morant on that team this year. Not even the same ballpark. And don't get me wrong. Teams from this conference can play. This conference is phenomenal. The OVC, right? This is teams that have produced many, many teams that have won big games in the tournaments like we saw a few years ago with the John Morant-led Racers. But I got Xavier. Xavier's too good. I get it. They just lost to Providence. Providence is a top 10 team in the country, and they barely lost. And I think I got to go Xavier. Despite how fun that 5-12 matchup would be, I got to go Xavier.
Tevin Brown. KJ Williams from Murray State. Both averaging 17 and 16 apiece. Then you got Xavier, a team that relies on the three-point shot. Doesn't hit them as much as they probably should. If we're being 100% honest with ourselves here.
I don't know that's even accurate, though. I think this team wins kind of easily, honestly. Got Paul Strug, Zach Fremantle. Got a few other guys who can step up. Shout out Zach Fremantle, by the way. If we haven't done that enough, he's our guy. But
I know. I got to go Xavier here. I just think Murray State would have a hell of a game.
No, I'm not saying this wouldn't be a blow. I'm not saying this would be a blowout. I think this could be a very close game. Definitely wouldn't be surprised if Murray State wins it again. It's college basketball. We're not expecting any team to blow out any team unless it's a 1 versus 16. Even then, it's happened. Hashtag UMBC. But I got Xavier.
All right. Then you got Kentucky, Vermont. I'm going to go get a different pair of headphones because my AirPods aren't working. You take that away.
All right. So we got Kentucky versus Vermont here. This has actually been a matchup they've had in a few previous years in the regular season. Vermont's a gret team. They have Ryan Davis, most likely going to be player of the year in his conference, New England Conference. I think that this team is going to win their conference championship pretty easily. But I think I got to go Kentucky. There's no one on this team that can guard Oscar Tshiebwe. It's just not happening. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe is top 5 big man in college basketball, not to mention the best defensive player out of all of them and rebounder. He'd probably go for 25 rebounds that game if I had to guess and 20 points. And there's not a lot of people that can stop that this year, particularly from Vermont's point of view. So I got Kentucky in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Kentucky is just so dominant on the defensive end and rebounding end. So Kentucky for sure should win this. I mean, if I go down and I look at Vermont, they're a talented team. American East. They're Vermont, American East. If you're a talented team in the American East, what happens when you get put up against a Kentucky team?
Bad things happen. That's all I have to say about that.
Yep. And then, you know what? Let's move quickly. We talked about Marquette a lot this video. Marquette, Boise State. The best team in the Mountain West against what has been one of the nicest surprises in college basketball this year.
I just know Shaka. I know him. Unless it's just a Texas Longhorns curse, I might go Boise State here. I get it. Marquette's a good team. They've beaten Villanova. They've beaten Creighton. They've beaten other really good teams. But I don't have enough trust in Shaka. He hasn't done it in years. He hasn't gotten past the first round in years, like 6+. Give me Boise State. Mountain West is a great conference. You got 5 teams that could all easily have a bid this year, and they're the best out of all of them. I got Boise State. Mountain West representative.
You know, I'm going to take Marquette here just because their defense, Boise State has a great defense, but Justin Lewis for Marquette has been one of the most impressive and underrated players in the entire college basketball.
He's been phenomenal. That is true. He's been phenomenal.
He's been incredible.
Not to mention Tyler Kolek. He's been great with the assists this year.
Exactly. I think Marquette would have this. It would be a hell of a game. Moving on, let's get through these so you can finish the show. Michigan State and Providence. What's up, Monique? I see you in the chat.
Oh my lord, that's such a Michigan State and Providence.
My Michigan State Princeton. Sorry, I was talking Big East.
I thought you said Providence. I was like,
I did say Providence. Whoa. That's my bad. But Michigan State Princeton. Jalen Llewellyn carrying against a Michigan State team that does not have one single player on it that is a superstar.
Michigan State, like, that's not even an option. Like, I get the Ivy League's a good conference, but
all right, move on.
Yeah, exactly. Move on.
Iowa, Miami, impressive win against Duke.
They are 7-2 in conference play. Not to mention arguably the crazy shot in all college basketball was last night by Miami at Virginia Tech. Crazy shot. I'm not saying they're riding the momentum all the way, but they have been a very big surprise in this conference this year. They were not supposed to be 7-2 at all.
For sure.
I am Miami, honestly. I think Keegan Murray's great. I think he's actually we're looking at a 3rd-team All-American here. He's not gonna beat this team single-handed. I'm sorry. I think I got Miami here. They're riding a lot of good energy right now.
Well, before I make my pick, do you think Miami would hold Keegan Murray to less than 20 points in this game?
They held Paolo to 14, and Paolo's better than Keegan. Make your pick. I think yes.
If you want to use that logic, then yes, Miami. But I think Keegan would be able. I think this Iowa team relies on Keegan so much. You gotta go Keegan Murray in Iowa. And then moving in, Kansas, Southern Utah. Southern Utah has had some of the nicest upsets, some of the best games played this year.
That game against Weber State was tough. Southern Utah versus Weber State, those teams are both elite.
Yep, and then you got Kansas. Known choke artist team.
They are a known choke artist team. They do choke a lot in the tournament.
What
But
do you have Kansas losing to Southern Utah? What do you have a 15-2 upset here?
No. I can't, because although Southern Utah is a good team, they do have their flaws. They have a pretty bad defense. Personally, I've seen them, and I've watched multiple games of theirs this season. I don't know if they can keep up with with Ochai Agbaji and Christian Braun and all the other star players that have on their team. It wouldn't happen, but it would be a great game. I honestly think it'd be one of those games where it's gonna be down in the final 5 minutes. But I got Kansas.
And then you got Gonzaga, Norfolk State, or UNC Wilmington.
Move on.
Gonzaga by 50. Seton Hall, Loyola, Chicago. Drew Valentine has been a great coach this year for Loyola. Seton Hall, We talked about them earlier.
They have the talent at the guard position, but they just don't have any forwards. Alexis Yetna isn't good. I don't care what any of the Seton Hall fans have to say. He's a 9-7 guy. He's not gonna do anything against any impressive players. And I get Loyola Chicago doesn't have any notable forwards, but at the same time, they didn't have any notable forwards when they went to the Final Four. They had a great point guard, which they do now, and they had a great team defense, which they do now. I would go Loyola Chicago.
Sam, Illinois Iona. This is such a tough matchup.
If that actually happened, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sister Jean all over again. That would
I wouldn't either. That's the problem. I'm taking Illinois here. Kofi Coburn, Rick Pitino. You are not going to be able to stop him. You do not have Zach Edey. Moving on for me, unless you really want to choose Iona, just to piss me off.
God, I'm just Illinois. I gotta move on. Yeah.
All right, Illinois. All right, LSU Toledo.
I got Toledo. Right off the bat, I got Toledo. I think that they're the best team easily in the MAC. They're beating all their competition by 10 plus every single game. Not to mention LSU's been struggling. I remember they had a really, really close game with Texas A&M last night.
Right,
and they don't win big games.
3 of their key players. LSU has so many injuries issues right now. I'll take LSU. I do not think this would be the case personally. I think LSU is going to end up being a 3 seed, if not a 2 seed this year. Give me the Tigers.
All I'm going to have to say is, despite injuries in that game, they should not have been close to Texas A&M. And there have been other games where they've been fully healthy, and they're still not playing to the highest of their abilities. I think this team's good. I don't think they're great. I still have Toledo because Toledo is a top team. Not to mention, they're going to have injury problems this whole season. If they have injury problems now, they're going to have injury problems the whole season. I'm not wishing injuries upon this team, by the way. I do not want that to happen to anyone because it sucks. I hate being injured personally. But I got Toledo personally.
All right. Now I'm not making the mistake. Providence versus
there we go.
Oregon or San Diego State.
I think Providence wins either.
Providence beats either of these teams. San Diego State, your best.
I think if they played San Diego State, that'd be, if you're really into basketball defense, especially in college basketball, that's 2 defensive powerhouses right there. So I'd be really interested in that game. But I think Providence is better offense and defense in both these teams. Maybe not San Diego State on defense, but you get my point. I got Providence winning this game. I really like the Friars this year.
All right, Texas Tech, Seattle. Texas Tech.
Seattle's a really good team, though.
Seattle's a great team. I'm just sitting here, and I'm thinking, Texas Tech has improved. I think they've improved.
They've improved for sure. We had them maybe making a tournament this year. Now they're ranked. So
I think we have them as a projected 9 or 10 seed.
Now they're not. So I think we got them winning this game. But what seeding is that by? Is that 2-15?
That's 3-14.
Wow.
Moving into 7-10 of the Horns Down versus UNC.
Ooh. I mean, UNC has been really struggling this year. They have been.
No, UNC's trending down, whereas Texans even. I think Texas makes it up to a 6 or a 5 this year if they can actually play up a little bit, like half of their potential. Yeah,
we've been struggling to meet potential. And I got the Horns. I'm not picking against the Horns, even if we played against the Celtics. But it's a bit scary because North Carolina does have talent on their team. They have talent, but they're so bad at putting it together this season. It's bad. Caleb Love and Amanda Blackhawk should be a top 5 duo in the game, and they're just not at all. Probably not even top 20 right now. But I got Texas in this game, and I think Ethan does too.
I think I have
for my sanity.
Texas's defense is too good. Moving into the 2-15 UCLA CSU Fullerton. Unless UCLA shoots 15% from 3 and chucks up 30 attempts, I'm taking UCLA.
Sam, no need to talk about that.
All right, Baylor, Colgate. Colgate trending down. Colgate, a team we thought could potentially make it up to a 13, maybe even a 12 at its height this year, is looking like it's going to be a 16 or 15. Or really whoever comes out of that conference. But Baylor, Colgate. Baylor, easy. Moving on to BYU, Davidson. Davidson lost their first game in a while to VCU.
VCU is a great team, though.
They are, but BYU also is a great team.
BYU's had some very interesting losses this year. Davidson hasn't. Not to mention Davidson's beaten some great teams. I personally have Davidson. This team's shooting is phenomenal. I can't think of anyone else on BYU besides Alex Barcelo. I mean, he's been great, but he's been struggling in a lot of big games lately or close games as well. And Davidson is a very well-rounded unit that can really shoot the lights out. And they're a team that's really nice because they can shoot the lights out and they don't depend on the three to win games. They can get to the rim when they need to.
For
I
sure.
got Davidson. I think it's a team that can potentially be maybe even beat their 1 seed. We'll see. I mean, they are playing Baylor, which is tough, but we'll get to that.
I know you don't have the bracket pulled up right now, but these next 2 games, Alabama, UAB, University of Alabama.
The battle of the Bama teams.
Battle of the Bama teams. I take UAB. Simple as that. I'm not going to go in. I'll go into my reasoning. I'll let you go into yours because I know you're picking Bama.
No, I'm not going to say I'm picking Bama because UAB is a great team this year. They're the best team in their conference. Easy CUSA representative unless they just completely choke the rest of the season. I would have to look at this game a little bit more. This is a matchup I personally don't have an opinion on. UAB's defense is great. Alabama's offense is great. These are 2 teams that have different strengths and different weaknesses that are matched up against each other. Ethan's take is definitely a valid take. This is not one of those games where I would get mad at Ethan picking the underdog here at all. I think it's honestly a solid pick, but just for the sake of me trusting in what Coach Oates does with his Alabama team, I gotta go Alabama. He's a great coach and he's led guard heavy teams to deep in the tournament before. So I got Bama.
See, the reason why I'm picking UAB, earlier in the year they had their 5 top guys all averaging double digits, and it was like, all right, who's going to take the lead? Well, they found their leader. Jordan Walker averaging nearly 18 points per game. And then you also have Jackson Buffin, who are averaging 11 and 10. And then you have Ertl, Lovin, and Jemison, which are all averaging 7 or more. Exactly. 7, 8, and 9.7. So I think you have a team for UAB of all scorers. All their role players can score. I'd take the Blazers over the Crimson Tide.
It's not a bad pick at all.
And then moving into Tennessee versus my favorite mid-major this year, Chattanooga.
You've never even talked about Chattanooga, the Noogs.
On my personal Twitter.
Okay. You should follow that, by the way. He tweets a lot.
Yep, at Ethan Carboni on Twitter. John, go into your pick right now before I just say why I like Chattanooga to win.
I want to hear why you like Chattanooga to win. To be honest, I don't know much about Chattanooga this year. They're a team that I've been slacking on. Why do you want Chattanooga?
Well, you see, for the Mocs, they have one guy who I love, Malachi Smith, from Belleville, Illinois, a sophomore. He's stepped up in his role this year, averaging 21.5, 6 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, playing nearly 35 minutes a game. And in those 35 minutes per game, usually you'd expect 3, 4, 5 turnovers. Would you agree? In a 35-minute game played by a point guard?
Yeah, I mean, for an elite point guard, I'm expecting around 2. What's he at right now?
2.1.
Wow. That's an elite point guard numbers right there. How many assists is he averaging?
Only 3.2, but he's more of a score-first player.
How many points? He's averaging 21 and with 3 assists and 2 turnovers. I like that. Is he shooting efficiently?
I believe he is. He is shooting 52% from field goal, 43% from 3, 83% from field.
I like that guy. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah. Then you got David Jean Baptiste averaging 14.6. He's another smaller guard. He probably, by height, he's the point guard, but by actual ball handling and assisting numbers, Smith is. But David Jean Baptiste, he's a really good second option. And then you have Silvio De Souza. Have you heard that name before?
Kansas, right?
Yep. Averaging 12.2 and 7.1. The big man, he is doing very good for himself in Chattanooga, in the land of the Mocs.
Now, why is Chattanooga going to win this game, in your opinion?
My opinion, I just think Tennessee has too many young guys, Kennedy Chandler, who will sometimes shoot a little bit too much out of their shoes. They shouldn't
be shooting, right?
Yeah, they'll shoot out of their shoes, and they won't.
But to be honest with you, Ethan makes a case for Chattanooga. Rick Barnes has had trouble in the tournament. They usually lose in these big games. I remember that game against Carson Edwards and Purdue where this team just went – they had a lead. I believe it was 10 at one point in the second half, and they sold it. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to win or lose this game. I'm not saying Chattanooga's going to win or lose this game. This is a game that I would really be interested in watching. Personally, I got to go with the Volunteers here. Just – that's the sole reason that Ethan's picking Chattanooga. Not because I don't like Ethan or anything, but, diverse side of things a little bit. I got Tennessee here. Kane Chandler's a great player. If he can do well in this game and not have a freshman moment in the tournament, I think they honestly win this game. But we'll see. He's a freshman.
We have 4 more games. I know you're running short on time, so we're going to get through these a bit faster. UConn, West Virginia, who you got?
UConn. Easy. I got UConn against their backcourt, and I have the great big man presence. They have Aycock, and Adama Sanogo.
For sure. I think UConn is one of the most flashy and exciting teams in college basketball, or they can put their foot on the ground and play some defense. I think the Huskies would take it over the Mountaineers here. Wisconsin, Wagner. If Wagner were to upset Johnny Davis in Wisconsin, Big Ten fans would let Wisconsin hear it forever. And I mean, like, we will be talking 20 years down the line to a Wisconsin fan. Hey, remember when you lost to Wagner? Yeah. So I already know you're choosing Wisconsin. If you choose Wagner, I'll kick you off the street.
Wagner it is, baby.
All right. Iowa State, St. Mary's. Iowa State, they had a nice one yesterday. They did. You got to admit, they had a nice one yesterday, John.
They had a great one yesterday. But St. Mary's is such a good team. They're a very, very, very good major team. Isaiah Brockington versus Tommy Coos. I gotta go Brockington. Brockington. They're in the best conference in college basketball this year, and personally, I think that overtakes a very good major St. Mary's team.
Hey, John, what was one of your 3 teams to watch beginning of the year?
We got Texas, Arkansas State, and don't know. What was the third team?
Well, it doesn't matter because Arkansas State versus Duke. Duke, Arkansas State.
I don't think you want to hear my answer.
All right, Duke's winning this.
I think this is going to be our upset game of the year. I think that Arkansas State is going to take this one. I think Arkansas State doesn't do anything impressive, right? They're not known as a basketball school. In fact, Ethan, when he covers football, is usually covering this team for a different sport. But I think that this team has one guy that I've been talking about since before the season started, who's been playing bonkers this year. And I think that if there were to be a 2-15 upset, this would be the game. Duke's known for choking in the tournaments. Coach Hayes last year. I think actually Duke might either. I think Duke has a chance to win the national championship. This is just a really unfortunate matchup for the Blue Devils. Norchad Omier. Don't get me started on this guy. I've been hot on him since he's a freshman. He's a sophomore this year. I think in this particular matchup, I understand Coach Hayes last year again. I understand that Duke has literally their whole program's history riding on the line here. They get a national championship to end Coach K's career. Number 7, it'd be Raps. No, sorry, number 6, it'd be Raps. Norchad Omier would lead this team to victory. Final answer. In this matchup. I might sound like a crazy person, but you have to do your research on Norchad Omier if you have no idea who that is. He's going to get drafted and he's from Arkansas State. Look at that. That's how good he is.
All right. Moving into really end segment. John, shout out your Twitter.
I'm going to shout out Creating Madness' Twitter.
Well, again, we do that finally, but yes.
Yeah, this is my Twitter handle right here, as you can see on the StreamYard stream. If you're not watching the StreamYard, it's Krevling_John, CREVE, LING. I post a lot of college basketball content on my own Twitter personally. I'm also reposting a lot of my friends' highlights. So I don't think it's the one you want to check out personally. I think you want to check out ATR Madness on Instagram. I mean, not on Instagram, on Twitter. That's where I put my Twitter work in when I can. That's where Ethan puts a lot of Twitter work in. That's where we get all our guys' college basketball content out there, and I really, really suggest you follow that.
For sure. And make sure you check out me at Ethan Carboni on Twitter, and then, as John mentioned, at ATR Madness on Twitter. Go check those out. We have a lot of fun running our socials. That's the end of our stream. That's the end of our show. Thank you all for tuning in, and good night.